Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order at 1:10 p.m. This is the regularly scheduled September meeting for the Historic Review Commission. We'll start with a roll call. Craig Pepper, absent. Dave Brennan, absent. Mark Tannenbaum, present. Okay, we see you, Mark. So Melinda Meyer, I'm here. Jeff Zelonis. Jeff is present. And then we have our ex officio members, Jason Wazorek, who is absent, and Chris Kinder.
Present.
Present. Thank you. So first on the agenda is the minutes from the August 2023 meeting. However, unless I missed something, the minutes have not yet been officially typed and sent to commissioners. Is that accurate? Or did I miss something?
Mark's on mute, but he informed me he had not got those completed yet, but he'll have them for the next meeting.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, Mark. So moving then to old business, we have ongoing work with the Historic Preservation Plan for the city, which is a really exciting project. It's been a hot decade or two since a Historic Preservation Plan for the city has been prepared. So we've got some really great anticipation building up for this current effort. Chris, you want to give us an update on the progress for the Historic Preservation Plan?
Certainly. So the plan, we have a full draft, working draft for the plan. We will be meeting with the Lakota group on the 26th of September. They'll be here the 26th and the 27th. We'll have an afternoon meeting. We have to change, I believe, locations. Yeah, nope, we're good. Just got an email about the meeting on the 26th. So on the 26th, we'll have a meeting with the Review Commission and the Historic Preservation Plan Steering Committee on the 26th. That will be in room 500 at 1 o'clock. That'll be a meeting from 1 to 3. That'll be kind of to talk about the draft of the plan. The commissioners as well as the committee members have the link to the draft. So we'll be talking about that draft and any necessary changes or suggestions and such. And then that evening, we'll be having a public meeting, and it looks like we'll have it here at City Hall as well, in the City Council chambers that night. That'll be a public forum to talk about the preservation plan, and we should have marketing materials this week for that.
Do you have any questions for Chris about this important project? Okay, hearing none, we will move on then to our new business. Updates on existing grant projects, grant applications, and/or submitted applications.
Okay, so we did receive a Keystone. Well, first let's start with our 2021 Keystone Historic Preservation Planning Grant from the State Historic Preservation Office. We received an extension for that since our plan was not completed will not be completed by the end of September and completed in terms of being adopted by City Council. So we have an extension on that, and that should be done. We hope City Council will be adopting the plan by the end of the year. I would hope by November. So we did receive an extension on that. Our 2022 and 2023 Keystone Historic Preservation Planning Grant is going towards a citywide comprehensive survey of historic resources. And also our 2022 CLG grant, which we received half the amount we asked for. All three of those are going towards that survey. We'll be doing an RFP. We'll be releasing that. Melinda, you should have a copy of that hopefully by the end of this week. So awesome. We can start interviewing consultants for that position as well. We were going to be doing it in phases. We may not have to do it in as many phases now since we received the grants that we didn't know we had received. That's especially the CLG grant. We did not know we received that until several months after the fact. Upcoming grants will be, we have applied for grants to conduct or create a residential building design guidelines, which we are desperately in need of, which would help us with any potential grant projects that we do if we continue or have the ability to create a permanent preservation grant, as we're doing with the ARP funds. The design guidelines would help our commission certainly approve those as well. And when we do have more districts in place, when we do certificates of appropriateness, those design guidelines would be in place as well. So that will be, those are our two next big projects. And so we hope to have all those in place very soon.
Excellent, Chris. Do we have any questions for Chris pertaining to these projects and or grant applications? Okay, again, these are incredibly exciting projects. As you all know, the Historic Preservation Plan is will help to kind of lead the development of the historic preservation program at the city. The Citywide Survey will help to identify properties that are either eligible for the city's own historic designation program, and or that might be prime candidates for listing on the National Register of Historic Places, right? So the Citywide Survey is another really important project for us that will lay the foundation going forward as we continue to develop this fledgling program for the city, with, of course, Chris at the helm. And then the design guidelines, I just want to mention again, one of the reasons why we're focusing on the residential property design guidelines is because, as you'll note, a couple of years ago, the Erie Downtown Partnership worked with a consulting firm by the name of Prospectus to develop design guidelines for the commercial core for the city. These design guidelines, even though they are intended for the footprint of the Erie Downtown Partnership, they really reflect the commercial building style that you'll find throughout the city of Erie. And so even though it was designed, they were created with that footprint in mind. They are truly applicable to the city as a whole and can be used as an important guidance document for us as well as we continue to consider improvement projects and or future certificates of appropriateness for buildings that have been locally designated. So again, we've got this great tool through the Erie Downtown Partnership. We really are in need of a similar tool for the residential property, as we're seeing the bulk of applications come through this historic building improvement grant program really are residential properties, and we've had some pretty difficult decisions to make. I cannot speak for my fellow commissioners, but I am incredibly uncomfortable with some of the window replacement projects and or vinyl siding projects that we've seen come through the program, because I really think that those types of projects are really not what we are intending to support with these programs. And yet, because we are so new, we don't necessarily have the guidance that design guidelines can provide for both property owners and our commissioners as we review applications. So again, this will be a critical tool going forward to help not just the commissioners, but the city staff, as well as property owners in putting together quality applications, whether they be for future grant programs and or for certificates of appropriateness should they be designated locally by the city as historic. So hopefully that makes sense to everyone. Anyone that is on, if you have a question, again, now is the time to ask. before we jump into discussion of some of the grant applications that are on our agenda for today. So any questions about the projects that are being funded with grant funding that are some of our foundational projects that we have as we mold this new program? Wow. Aaron.
Right. So Melinda, and I certainly, I want to, agree with you 100%. And that we need some guidelines, and that's kind of, where we're at right now. And I know, the historic building improvement grant was, certainly something that has never been offered before, and something that I know we need to, unfortunately, I think we need to hold off a little bit. We need to take a step back, look at our guidelines, some of the projects that are coming through, and what the HRC should have. Those residential guidelines need to be in place, because as you said, I feel as if certainly some of the projects, the window replacement, the vinyl siding, things like that, could have been vetted a little bit better if we would have had some guidelines in place. I know, we certainly want to get the money out the door, but I don't think, as good stewards of the taxpayer dollars, we're doing any justice for historic preservation in the city by getting this money out the door as quickly as we have. I think, Chris and I had this conversation. I think I think we need to suspend the program temporarily as we, review those guidelines with the HRC and get a better handle on that program, before we fully expend all of our money and look back at it wishing we would have done more due diligence on that side.
So Aaron, can you provide just some quick follow-up? When we talk about suspending the program, are we talking about, so we have about 12 or more applications on the agenda for today. I'm just curious. So sorry.
Well, I think Chris could speak to it, but last we met, I think it was over a month ago, we were pretty close to expending all of the funds. And so, granted, looking at, I haven't had a chance to fully look through a lot of what is on the agenda today, as far as application wise, or whether or not, some of them, do have questionable work that is being done that could be more of a benefit. And certainly, we rolled this program out, and not even to that, to just the guideline effect that, we probably should have included a priority level for some of the projects, that certain projects would get a higher priority against other projects, that rental properties necessarily wouldn't be, or investment owned properties wouldn't be given a priority over an owner occupied property, or a property that was vacant that had an intent to be moved into. There's just, I think, a lot of, like I said, due diligence on the HRC's side that we could be asking a lot more of those questions. And so I think before we fully expend all of the funds out of this grant program, I think it's best that we just kind of to hold off. I know some of these people may have properties and projects that stuff is getting ready to get started, but I think, as like I said, good stewards of these taxpayer dollars, that we make our best effort to fine tune this program and make it as great as it possibly can for the city of Erie.
Yeah, so to build on that, I think that there are probably some projects that we could potentially move forward with today, but I think yes, there are likely a number of projects as well that we could simply table. I think it's important also to acknowledge where we're at in the calendar year. This is we are into the second week of September, which means realistically our construction season may have 1 month or less remaining. Of course, depending on the weather, we could also have 3 months remaining in our construction season. So this also feels like a legitimate time of year, not only for programmatic reasons, but also just looking at kind of construction projects and what could be done this year and what needs to be held off till next year. All of that makes sense, Aaron. And we really do want to make this program impactful and make sure that it fulfills the mission of the HRC.
Thank you.
So Erin, was there anything else that you wanted to talk to the group about before we actually begin to make our way through these applications? This is the first time we've had you here. I feel like, we're going to hold on to you for a minute and kind of ask how things have been going on your end with the implementation of this program, what you've been seeing, what you're hearing from property owners from an administrative point of view, what is going well, what is not going well. So the floor is yours.
Right. So yeah, certainly we've had a lot of grant agreement signings on the ones that have been approved. Several have come back as completed. So there's certainly some individuals who were definitely shovel ready as far as their projects go, and the ones that have been completed have been good. Through a lot of those signings of those grant agreements, I've ran into individuals that weren't necessarily as prepared as I would have thought they would have been for their projects. They still had a lot of questions about finding a contractor, and questions like that would have, I thought, been a little bit more defined when they were doing it, or just certain questions. I know I received a question, I brought up the vinyl siding earlier, but I received a question from a citizen as far as the vinyl siding and why vinyl siding was a historic building improvement grant. And, so we've gone through a lot of those questions, but so far, I think, we haven't seen as many that were as ready to go as we possibly would have liked. I do understand, the environment we're in with contractors, that, getting on their schedule is very difficult currently. So, some of these projects might not necessarily get started till next spring or so, but it's kind of where we're at right now. A lot of excitement around the grant. I know, certainly have had a lot of interest and a lot of, positive words on having a program like this available for historic preservation and improvements to some of the properties. So I had one individual who stopped into the lobby, dropped off an application, and expressed that they would have had to go a cheaper route had there not been the ability to submit a grant application for their renovation, that they would have downgraded their property in an effort to save money. But the possibility of a grant program is allowing them to keep their house at least accurate as far as its current condition. So there's a lot of positivity behind it, so I think we want to keep that going. But like I said, I think we just want to, the funds don't have to be expended or fully obligated until December of 2024. So we're well on our way, and I certainly don't want, and never really wanted growing pains, but with a new program, it's almost inevitable to always have to do it. And we I think we're moving along, but we certainly have a little bit of work to do.
Excellent. Thank you for that feedback. It's good to hear. We've heard from Chris, certainly, that the enthusiasm for the grant program is high. I think this is, so many programs. There are so many programs that have income qualifiers. I mean, one of the things that makes this unique is that this particular program does not have income qualifiers. And so there's kind of a whole new group of, middle to lower middle income folks that are seeing this as an opportunity that may not qualify for those other programs that are HUD funded or state funded. So we've heard a lot of good things about this program. So, okay, Jeff and Mark, since the two of you, we can see half of each of you, together you make up a whole commissioner in our little screens here. Questions about, I feel like I'm doing all the talking. Please, I'd love to hear from the two of you if you have feedback or if you have questions for Erin directly. This is the time to really ask how things are going.
No, you're still on mute.
Who has host capabilities?
I'm not sure anybody in here does. Let
Oh,
me
darn.
see. Let me see if I do. No.
So whoever's signed in as city administrator.
Yeah, that's our let's see. My goodness.
I'm able to unmute. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good. Come on in, Jeff.
He's still working on it.
I've got Jeff here, so we got at least one other commissioner here with us.
Jeff, thank you for switching rooms.
It was easy to do. Hey, I do have a couple questions. So we have reviewed country grants back in the August 23rd meeting. Are those grants still valid? We approved them. Are we saying now that we're going to go back and retract that approval?
No.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Aaron.
No. Yeah, no. There is no intent to go back and withdraw anybody's approval. You know, the moving forward, a lot more questions could be asked, and like I said, I think those guidelines for qualifications will help tremendously.
Okay, but now there's another 12 on the agenda today. Are we going to just review them as we've reviewed the previous ones, or now we're going to start sorting them, so to speak? Or
I haven't had a chance to look at the 12 that are on the agenda, so I can't provide any comment as far as those go. You know, it certainly looks like there's some rental properties on here. It looks like there's a fine mix of rentals and business and some owner occupants. So,
Right.
And the ones that are on the agenda today are applications that were tabled from our August meeting. We have no new applications on the agenda as of today.
But just to follow up on Chris's comment, though, so at our August special meeting, we reviewed again around 10 to 12 applications and approved a number of applications during that special meeting. We have 12 or so today scheduled, which leaves us with 15 to 20 still in the queue, right? So don't think that this list in front of us is an exhaustive list of the applications that have been received. So even beyond this list that appears on our agenda, we still have an additional 15 to 20 applications that have been approved. But what Chris has done is kind of narrowed down the list to make sure that we had kind of a reasonable number of applications to review in the time allotted during our HRC regularly scheduled meeting. And so I think to Aaron's point, one of the things that he's advocating for, and I support wholeheartedly, because I too have had kind of similar thoughts, is that maybe we slow down. Again, one, because we are over halfway through our process, right? Over halfway through our funding that has been committed out to applications. This is, while we've all talked about seeking additional funding and continuing this program long term, the fact remains that we have not yet done that. So we do not have funding in place to continue this program, which in many ways, and at this moment in time, makes it a one and done opportunity. So don't we want to do this well? Don't we want to do this right? And so rather than kind of rush through the remaining applications and completely expend our remaining, I want to say 300,000. Let's slow down a little bit. We're also at the end of our construction season. So it gives us some time to reflect on how things have gone now that we're over halfway through, determine, are we meeting our goals as an HRC? Are we fulfilling our mission as an HRC? Right.
so we will not be voting on any of the applicants on the list today. Is that the bottom line?
I didn't say that.
Well, it sounds like what I'm hearing is we need
I'm
to slow down.
saying, I'm saying, let's take our time and look through the list that we have today, right? They are on the agenda.
Yep.
So I don't think it's going to be inappropriate for us to work our way through this. But I think that there are going to be, well, let me put it this way. Jeff, you're going to vote how you vote. I'm telling you right now how I will vote. There are several applications that I will certainly vote to approve that are on our agenda today. There are also applications that I will vote no to because I believe that the projects are ineligible, and there will be a handful that I have questions about that I will vote to continue to table because I feel that there are questions pertaining to their kind of appropriateness for this project or for this grant funding, and whether or not we actually need more information to determine if they are in alignment with, again, the goals of the HRC.
All right, so let me understand.
So that's why I'm not telling you we're going to remove these from the agenda and we're not going to vote. I'm simply being honest with my own votes. I'm going to have yeses, I'm going to have no's, and I'm going to have, we need to table because there are still issues with these applications.
I just found that out. Yeah.
All right, so we're not introducing any new criteria to this. It's just up to the individual commissioner to say yes or no based on their interpretation or the worthiness of the project.
At this point, I think that we do also have, again, as I mentioned, we have 15 to 20 applications that are not on this agenda, right? They aren't even, they are in the folder. They are available for us to look at, but they have not yet been put on the agenda for a formal vote. So I think that at our next special meeting, we probably should think through this a little bit more and determine really what we want to do going forward. And again, we are at the construction season, so I think that this is a legitimate time to kind of put the brakes on if we have questions about select applications and really get the information that we want and need, so that again, no one's going to question 5 years from now whether or not we're fulfilling the mission of the HRC.
Okay. So for instance, we have Sarah Reed on there for the St. Anne School, who came to us in May, and they still have not been approved.
I believe we approved them in August, I believe.
Not at the 23rd meeting.
Let's see.
Registration.
Maybe we approved them in August. Yeah, we approved them at our regular meeting in August.
So, okay.
Those are in my notes as well, Chris.
Yeah, okay.
That we approved it.
All right. And Aaron, what is the turnaround from the time that when you get approval from Chris that the HRC is reviewed and approved, how long is the turnaround until they get their signed grant agreement?
It was around about 2 weeks from getting notification from Chris to getting the agreements put together, and then getting the toughest part, I think, is meeting the individual's schedule to get them in the office to sign a contract.
Okay. Because I got a call from one of the applicants today that I know he was approved on the 23rd, and he has not heard yet. They have a grant agreement scheduled, so.
Yeah, I think I got an email today from Kendra, and she's working on some of those that we did at our special meeting. So
1484.
Okay, so you're working.
yeah, they're being worked on.
Yeah, they're working through. We're just
All right, and to Melinda's point, right, the weather is going to close in on us pretty soon. Right. So.
And Melinda, just wanted to, you mentioned it, we do have the special meeting on the 21st. We don't have an agenda yet. The part of the meeting, or the biggest chunk of the meeting, was to, hey, Jeff, Mark went downstairs. You can join me, it's okay. Sorry. We had the special meeting on the 21st, which is to really talk about creating a permanent program. We could also apply that to talk about guidelines to continue this program, what's left of this program. I think that's beneficial. I think we probably should have been a little more strict with our guidelines from the start, but that's okay. The applications we do have on the agenda today, just because they're on the agenda does not mean they are required to be approved. They can be denied, they can be tabled, and so forth. So it's up to the commissioners These are all, according to what guidelines we have, eligible, but certainly there are some with questions. But we can also include, if we want to include the applications that are not on the agenda today that were tabled from August, we can do so there as well. Or if we just want to talk about guidelines going forward, that's appropriate as well. I just wanted to bring that up so the commissioners can talk about what they want on that agenda. So far, I haven't really heard from anybody about what should be on that agenda. But I think, you know, the current program should be on the agenda concerning guidelines going forward, as well as guidelines for any future program.
I agree, Chris. And, you know, I was just looking, it looks like it's the next HRC meeting scheduled for October 2nd.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Our
so-
regular meeting, we have a special meeting on the 21st, which was
Right.
really designed to talk about this program and a future program.
You know, and then so, you know, just, I mean, I think as much as everybody would, you know, want to move projects forward today, I feel as if, you know, tabling these projects until the October meeting and having a meeting to review some guidelines, some evaluation criteria, getting kind of some priorities set and retooling that before we push more projects through. You know, these are grant funds. You know, it certainly, you know, will upset some individuals that, you know, their project was tabled again till October. However, if you're seeking grant funds, you know, from a government entity, you have to be forgiving as far as, you know, the whole process that is involved. So, you know, I think, you know, we might be better off to have a discussion of guidelines, you know, at the study session, and then review these based upon those revised guidelines, especially given that there would be some that, you know, like I said, I haven't looked at them, but, you know, if Melinda's got questions about some of them and other, you know, commissioners might as well, you know, pushing them through is in the best interest of the program.
Yeah, I think especially any ones that have questions should certainly, I mean, it's up to the commissioners. We do have a few on here that are painting, that are really good projects, painting, repair of porches, things like that, that I think would be perfectly eligible. Others, but I'll leave that to the commissioners. We have some certainly that are questionable, but I'll leave that all to the commissioners to decide.
That's fair.
I agree with that, Chris. And those are the ones that I think that we can make a vote on today. In addition to, there's a handful that I think, well, again, not putting words in the mouth of my fellow commissioners, but there are a handful that I'm going to vote no on because I wholeheartedly believe that they are ineligible for the program for various reasons. So I suspect that we can get through some of those easy yeses and the ineligibles in addition to the tabled today. So and not rush through this, but yeah, I agree, Chris. So any other questions before we begin to work our way through today's list of applications on the agenda? Okay, hearing none, no further questions. We're going to jump in then with the applications as they are ordered on the agenda. So we're starting with Donald Chandlery, 143. Oh,
I'm gonna I'm sorry, we wanted to jump in. I'm gonna let you know I will share the screen so that everybody can see the application as we talk about
oh,
this.
very good, very good. Okay. I'll keep my intro short then. So we have Donald Chandlery, 143 Sanford Place. He is looking at a window replacement project for his property. He did provide an estimate with the application. However, he is choosing to go with Seaway windows, which I can't recall. He may have submitted separately from the application. I do vaguely recall this conversation. Perhaps he was one who presented at the July meeting. So the total project cost, because he's choosing Seaway over Window World or some like window company, the total project cost is $18,500. He's requesting the full $15,000 and will contribute $3,500 as the property owner match. And so this was one, any of the, most of the window replacement projects, I have questions and or concerns about, because I think when you do window replacement, it is critical that if you're choosing to do a full replacement, that the replacement window replicate the exact look and feel of the original window. Otherwise, you are indeed changing the aesthetics of the building. But that's my own commentary. So do we have opinions and questions from my fellow commissioners about this particular application? Okay, hearing no questions, I will put a motion on the table to table this one, because I think that there continue to be questions about it, especially since I'm not sure that we can actually see the estimate that the property owner is choosing to go with, which is the estimate from Seaway versus the one that was included in the application itself. So a motion on the table to table this. Okay, we have a second from Mark.
So there was a revised application from Don Chanley submitted at the last meeting to clear up some of those things. In fact, here's his revised application. He's asking for the 14,707. This is revised on August the 5th. Yes. Because there was some confusion over that, and he did say at the time that he is keeping the appearance of the house.
Okay, so this would be the further discussion. Do we have any other further discussion pertaining to this application?
So what would be, let's say it is tabled, what is the applicant supposed to do to move us along?
So at this point, the applicant would not do anything. We would have further discussion about the application, which would tie to our conversations about, again, what we want to see with this grant program going forward, regarding to really the program. Again, I can't repeat it enough, helping us fulfill the mission of the HRC. I'm not sure that funding 20 window replacement projects is actually what we want to be doing.
Right, we're trying to keep these buildings from deteriorating. So anything that can be done to help them is preserving a historic property. I know you in the past have not been a fan of vinyl windows. Is that one of the objections to this quote, that it is vinyl windows? If you're keeping the appearance of the divided lights and to match what's there, is it the vinyl windows you're objecting to?
So in part, it could be the vinyl. Well, I want to make sure that if we approve vinyl windows, that the appearance is as exact as possible to the original, right? We're talking about window size, we're talking about sashes, we're talking about every component to those windows. I understand that not in all cases restoration is possible, but I don't know. I'd like to have us have more conversations about that. Okay, Aaron, hand up.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make a comment on the window, and so just if you're not familiar, whenever we have federal funds expended into a project, so our lead hazard control grant in particular, and I explained this to Chris, we submit to SHPO for approval of our project. We know when we do a lead hazard control project in Lawrence Park in the row houses, we are not permitted to install vinyl windows because they are not historically accurate representations of the existing windows. However, we still facilitate those projects using what is approved by the state as far as aluminum clad windows, true divided light with separation mullions and interior and exterior mullions, and whatever would need to be done to get that SHPO approval. They will not and have never approved vinyl windows as an historical replacement because the sashes and the frames are far too thick.
What
If I-
about,
if I
what
may-
about the vinyl windows that we've approved already? Why are these people gonna be denied them since we've approved them before?
I guess to yeah, you know, to comment on that would be saying that if if you know you're going down the wrong road, but you continue driving instead of turning around and going back.
If I can, I mean, one of the discussions that we had relative to vinyl windows or vinyl siding was that we thought that preserving the property kind of overrode those specifics. And there was always a question of whether or not that was an appropriate use of the funds. I know with, like, let's say the very first one, which was the packet doors, people did not like the way they looked, and we ended up having to manufacture doors to, you know, to match the exact doors that are there now. And it quadrupled the cost of doing it, and we still haven't installed them yet. We won't install them till the end of this month now, and we were the first approved, and it's taken that long just to make them. So I'm kind of caught in the middle on what the correct behavior is. Although from Aaron's perspective, I understand if we're going to change the way we go and not approve vinyl windows, now's the time to do it, even though we may have in the past.
This,
Yeah,
and
I
there's-
I agree, and to say that that you guys shouldn't approve vinyl windows, it's there might be options out there. There might be vinyl window manufacturers that manufacture a historical representation of an old window, as if there are vinyl siding options or vinyl material products which are historical representative products of old style materials, board and batten. There's a great vinyl siding material that looks exactly like old wood board and batten, but it's vinyl, but it would meet any of the materials that are currently installed. I mean, so it's a matter of making sure that if what you're looking for. I mean, a Window World window is a mass-produced vinyl window. It's the same thing that our contractors install on lead hazard control projects day in and day out on non-historically projects that this SHPO says we're fine to put vinyl windows in.
And again, Aaron, to your point, and PACA did in fact, because we're on the National Historic Register, we did get funding from the Redevelopment Authority, some matching funds when we originally put new windows on our building, and we did in fact make them historically accurate. They were not vinyl, and they were black as opposed to white. And I believe that each window cost another $2,000 a piece, just to make them historically accurate, which we wanted to do. But it does make them more expensive.
Right.
But we did
I would agree,
comply
not-
several years ago with,
Yeah.
that's 3 years out now, I think. And we did comply, Aaron, I think you remember, and if, we got them specially made for us.
Yeah, not to continue, but I think that, looking back and thinking, Monday morning quarterbacking this, this wasn't intended for somebody who didn't income qualify for one of our grant programs to come and get money to put in vinyl windows. This money was intended to allow them to pay for those historical accurate windows and cover that additional cost so that they could do window replacement and do it to meet the house's needs and continue that same effect.
And then our funding would support the additional costs of what it would cost to go not historically accurate to historically accurate, and that's what the money was for.
Yes. Like I said at the beginning, talking to that homeowner who would have went the cheaper route if they couldn't have applied for this and put copper lined gutters back into their property.
Correct. That was my understanding.
So we have a motion on the table to table this application. We had a motion and a second. If we don't have any further discussion, let's go ahead and vote on the motion. All in favor of approving the motion to table this application signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, motion passes 2-1. So moving on then to Blessed Sacrament School, we have
Well,
Are you-
we received an update. I think it was you, Jeff, who talked about potentially this project. I emailed Pastor Phil, it looks like, not long after hearing that the project had already been completed. If it has been completed, I haven't heard word officially from him. I'll follow up, but if it has been completed, it would be ineligible. So.
Chris, I'm guessing that you'll need us to make a vote of ineligibility, or is it just determined ineligible?
It is ineligible if it has already been completed. Otherwise, if this has not yet been completed, it would be an eligible project.
So
But I have not heard either way from the applicant.
And they actually started. So that
Okay.
alone makes it.
Yeah, if they've started, it makes it ineligible.
Okay, so the application is being withdrawn?
Yes.
Withdrawn, it hasn't been withdrawn from the applicant, but it could be denied by the HRC.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is it just determined ineligible, or do we need to actually vote that this is not an application we are funding?
Since I have not heard from the applicant as to whether or not it has officially been started, we can either table it and then officially vote on it next meeting, or you can deny it as it is currently.
That I'm not on the screen anymore.
Oh.
That's okay.
Okay, I do not, if we want to wait, let me put it this way. I'll make a motion to table until we receive confirmation. Unless, Jeff, you can confirm that.
I know the work is done. I'm not the owner, but I know the work is completed because I heard that right from Father Phil. So. I think.
So it's ineligible?
Yes.
And we don't need to wait until Chris hears back. We know for certain then that it's done.
I know and yes, right.
Okay, so I'll make a motion then to determine this application ineligible and not fund it.
Yes.
Hearing a second from Jeff. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of denying the application from Blessed Sacrament signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, application was denied. Then we move on to Tim Hoover, 217, 219 Liberty Street. This is a rental property looking at painting. The total project cost is $12,190. They are seeking $10,971 and will contribute $1,219. So I know this is a rental property. I can't recall if we had a number of properties where the owners of the property actually lived in the building and they used either the second or first floor as a rental apartment. So I cannot recall offhand if this is one where the owner.
I believe this is completely a rental, if I'm understanding correctly.
Completely a rental. Okay.
Hey, Chris, can I see the numbers again? The request, the job amount and the request of the initial? Yeah, that one. Keep going. There you go. Thank you so much.
He's asking for the full 12,190, right? I think we talked to him about that. It has to be less than 10%.
All right.
So I adjusted the numbers. So the numbers that I read off were adjusted based on him having to contribute at least 10% of the project cost. So it would be, again, the total project cost, $12,190. The request would be $10,971. And the property owner's contribution would be $1,219. Okay, do we have any questions or anyone ready to make a motion?
I would vote, we say yes.
I'll second. Hearing, or do we have any further questions, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the application or the motion to approve the application signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so this one is approved. C is approved. Moving on to Kelly Dempsey's application, which is 627, 629 West 6th Street. The request is $15,000. The total project cost is $29,600. The property owner will contribute $14,600. She is seeking funds to rebuild the two-story porch. And this is both owner occupied and a rental property.
Yes,
So-
yes, this is one that was owner occupied and rental.
And I will go ahead, I'll make a motion to approve this application.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of approving the application by Kelly Dempsey for the rebuild of her two-story porch signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next application is David Hodis. 623, 625 West 6th Street. Total project cost is $11,400. Request $10,260 and will contribute $1,140. Looking to rebuild the lower deck of the porch. There's a brace that has collapsed. He did provide a photograph showing the impact on the floor, which has since kind of become a V shape due to the breakage of the floor joists.
So I believe Kelly Dempsey, who's also related to this, was part of the discussion when she was here last time, right? And I remember asking if they were changing the appearance of the porch. She said all they were doing is replacing the deck boards. But I see in the application that actually says and railing. Now that railing is not original, I'm sure.
That's not.
Sure.
But she said deck boards only because I did ask her about changing the appearance of it.
Do we have questions about this one then, Jeff?
I think we need to clarify, and she should submit a revised application. I think we really have to have revised applications when people change stuff, because if an auditor shows up and says, you know, show me what you did here with the prices changed or the scope changed, or, you know, it would just be very difficult to stand up to an audit when we said it's 11,500 for deck boards and railing, and then we said, well, it can only be deck boards. I really think they need to revise that, so we have a good record of these things.
Now, in addition to that, I mean, her application does state porch and railing, as does the quote. So she didn't change the application, but she did, I do recall that she may have said that they weren't doing the railing.
But that, I mean, if they were to replace that railing in kind of what's there, that's certainly not original, but would be. It's not.
It's not original, but it would be similar to what, I believe similar to what is there, what was there originally.
I think we need to have her verify, right? Because that would be, I don't know what it originally looked like the lap siding or vinyl siding on the second floor porch. I don't know if that was original, but I've seen.
This would be close to what I think would have been historically would have been there. Yeah. Yep. For sure.
So her application says they will rebuild what is it, let's see, deck board coated railing with wooden balusters and cocktail railing. Eight by 23.
We put you on.
I think she needs to clarify that. What exactly are they doing? If they're replacing it exactly in kind, we're okay with that. That's great. But it doesn't really describe what that railing will look like. And I've seen people do bad things to railings on those flats, you know.
So Jeff, are you making a motion to table this application?
Yes, and we need clarification from her. I table it, and then we need to get clarification exactly what she's doing there.
Clarification in terms of what the railing would look like. I mean, the
Yes.
application says railed if they're doing the railing, but we want to clarify what the railing would look like. Is that correct?
Right, because wooden balusters and cocktail railing, I don't
Okay.
understand what that is. Deck boards, I get it.
And not, I mean, just a comment, you know, five quarter decking is, you know, not a replacement of what is there. Tongue and groove pine decking boards would be a, you know, material for material swap for what was original for that deck.
So we have a motion on the table to table this application. Do we have a second?
And just to clarify, we're asking specifically about the railing, correct? Are we not concerned about the flooring? Or are we concerned about both? Do we want verification of both, what both will look like?
Appearance wise, the railing would change the appearance of it. The deck board, I understand, and it's not technically what was there, but in the sense of it's not collapsing and they're not tripping over it. Putting anything in place there would be okay, in my opinion. But the railing, yeah, could change the appearance of it.
So I will second the motion to table. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to table this application signify by aye. Opposed? Okay. Application tabled. Moving on to Pineapple Real Estate. This is a request for architectural services. Total project cost is $39,950. Request is for $15,000. Property owner will contribute remaining cost. I think this is an application that is ineligible. We do not have in our guidelines that we will support architectural services.
Well, it does say architectural services, but it doesn't, the work has already been done. That's my objection to it.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Jeff.
But it's work that's already been done.
Right,
Yeah.
which makes it ineligible.
Right.
So
To deny this.
motion to deny, I'll second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to deny this application signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, excellent. We go then to Mark Adams, 4014 Balboa Street. This is one that I think we've maybe discussed a couple of times. This was one that was tabled several months ago, earlier in the year, for additional information. We had not received additional information, but the property owner did go forth and complete the project. And so
Well, that was the first application. This is the house next door.
No, this is the
So
first.
this is the first one because they both say
Yes,
40,
this is the-
14.
This is the
one
official
is
one.
4014, one is 4018.
All right. Right.
So we're on the 4014, which is the,
Yep. Got it.
Yeah, we had tabled it in May pending requested material, or I believe it was an updated bid, but we did not receive that. There is documentation that a bid was made at the appropriate time, but neither myself or the redevelopment authority received it. And the work was completed.
well, and we had not voted.
Yes,
I
we
was
had
gonna
not.
say, I think that's the clarifying question. It
We
was
never
never
voted on it.
officially ratified by the
No.
HRC for,
And therefore, there
Approval.
never a grant agreement was never executed either.
okay, that's, so it's not like it was approved with additional information requested. The project was tabled and never approved. Okay,
Correct.
so that
Listen,
clarifies
listen,
everything.
I want
And
to
he has
just, I want
no
to say this
signed
though.
grant agreement.
I don't know if I'm able to, if you guys can hear me, but
We
I
can.
have documentation where I tried emailing this to Aaron. I tried emailing it to Chris. I tried everything in my means to get it to you guys. And when I had the meeting, in the very first meeting, Jeff said, you give us this updated information, I will pass this. I mean, that was very clear. And I ended up having to deliver this by hand to Aaron's office because of whatever fault there was in your email server. I mean, I don't know what else I could have done.
Do you have a signed grant agreement, Mark?
I didn't, but you know what, Jeff,
Okay,
you
I
didn't
mean,
tell me
that's-
I needed a signed agreement. When I was at that
It's
first
in the
meeting,
guidelines. It's in the guidelines, Mark. You have to have a signed grant agreement.
so if I would have known that, I mean, if I'd have known that I did what you asked me to do and you were going to deny it anyway, that I wouldn't have done this. I mean, this was a major expense for me. This is what I use for my retirement. And that money's already been spent.
We didn't deny, and we didn't vote at all on it. And you went ahead with the work without a signed grant agreement.
That's nice.
Part of the that's part of the guidelines.
I did what you asked me to do, Jeff, right to the T. You know, the fact that your email server was down, that I couldn't get this information to Chris, it's not my fault. I understand what you're saying. You didn't have a chance to sign anything, but had you've gotten the information, it was everything you asked me to do. It was right to the T. I mean, I didn't realize I had to drive this over to someone's office in order for it to process.
Has
I mean,
the
that
work
to me
been
is-
completed?
Yes, it's completed and it's beautiful. It turned out absolutely beautiful. So this property, I had a short window of time that I could work on it. And I expressed that during the first meeting that, you know, I had this contractor lined up for May and I'd like to make sure that it got done by May. And that's where we left it. I mean, yes, maybe I was ignorant, but I did the best that I could do with your constraints. I mean, these were constraints that were not, they were beyond my control. I mean, the fact that your email server was down for a month is, I just don't even know what to say about that.
Right. I think, Mr. Adams, I think it comes down to that the board tabled it and it was never officially approved. So paperwork or not, server down or email technological issues, the board tabled it and the board never approved it. So it was never technically an approved project to get even if we had in our guidelines that a project could proceed post HRC approval, the board never approved the project. Therefore, the authority could never issue grant funds or commit grant funds to the project.
Right. But Aaron,
You know,
I think
so-
that you can appreciate what I'm saying, though.
I certainly,
talked to you
I
about
understand and respect what you're saying. I'm just saying procedure wise and, you know, to follow the process, if the HRC doesn't
Mhm.
ratify a project and get approval on it and it is tabled, then no funds can be expended on a project.
Grant agreements for the guidelines.
Yeah.
So are we at a point, commissioners, where we can entertain a motion? So I'll make a motion. I don't think that we can make an exception for this, although again, Mr. Adams, I completely understand. I've heard everything that you've said and I certainly apologize for the complexities of submitting the requested material. I Unfortunately, I don't think that we can make an exception because that opens the door for additional exceptions. And so I will make a motion to deny the application for 4014.
I second it.
Seconded by Mark. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of denying the application signify by aye.
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 Okay. Motion is carried. We move on then to the next application, who was also submitted by Mr. Adams, 4018 Balboa Street, vinyl siding and railing. Total project cost is $20,831, requesting $10,000, and will contribute $10,831.
So we had a discussion. Do you have the picture in the application there for Mark for the building?
That's the,
Yes, for this is the rebuild of the front porch. So Mark, tell us again the materials. I know we had some discussions about last time changing the number of columns and the railing and stuff. What's this going to look like?
So Jeff, I kind of read your body language during the last meeting, and so I had this requoted to just do the siding. The porch is structurally in need of some repair, and I talked to the contractor and he said he can repair it and also maintain the look as it is now, not changing the railing at all. And the new quote, let me see if I have it here. So the new quote is for $18,787, and that's going to be to make it look exactly the same, only with the siding, and the siding would be done in the same color, as close to the same color as the building is now.
All right, so your new scope is to re-side the whole house and rebuild the porch so it looks the way it does today.
Yes, and I made copies. I was hoping that we could meet in person because I could give you guys the revised copies in person, so that maybe we could move forward on this one. I don't know how I can get these to you easily. I could try sending them to Chris, and then you guys could reevaluate it. The cost is actually just a little bit less than the original one, but like I said, the main thing is getting that porch so that it's straight again. It's not straight right now.
Yes, I noticed that. It would certainly be an improvement to the building. Now, as far as the materials goes, so you're going to match the existing, so it looks, so the appearance does not change.
Well,
it's got asbestos siding.
It shouldn't really change very much. Yeah, it's going to look the same as the house next door on the side. I'm not going to do the front the way I did the front on the house next door. It's just going to be all just a straight vinyl clad siding.
I guess, Chris, can you pull up the scope or the invoice from Absolute?
Mm-hmm.
All right, scroll down. Let's see. All right, hold up right there.
Now, this is the old application, right, Mark?
That's right.
Before we had the discussion at the last meeting. So you have a revised?
Yeah, I had the revised ones right here. I don't know if you can see it clearly.
Okay.
But he's talking about just putting siding on and then structurally making the porch sound. And then
right. Yeah. So it looks like they're installing standard vinyl 042 siding, probably a double 4.
That's correct.
You'd want an 8-inch or a 9-inch panel siding to be a historical representation of the asphalt asbestos that is currently installed.
8-inch or 10-inch, I can make a note of that and make sure that that is in fact the case.
Yeah, I mean, there is a vinyl siding. You know, they do make 8-inch panel siding that's larger scale, that would be a little bit more of historical to what is currently there. However, underneath that is probably a 4-inch wood clad siding as well. So
I'm almost certain. That's what I found on the house next door, and it was about the same age.
Either would be good. And 042 is your standard quality vinyl siding.
Okay. I mean, I don't remember. I got it here. Let me see. So I think the original quote was 20,800. The new quote is 18,787.
And then the columns and stuff on the porch, you will, again, match the.
So
match the-
what's gonna happen is he's gonna have to tear those out because those are part of the problem. But he is gonna match them, put them right back up, and he's gonna cover them in white, so they'll look the same.
Aaron, is that acceptable?
I mean, I
was
think
pretty-
you want to stay away from aluminum coil stock as much as possible. You know, if his
Okay.
intent is to wrap them, that would certainly be a downgrade to it. You'd want to go with more of a PVC wood grain type hard material that would be
All
maintenance
right,
free.
I'll make a note of that. I don't think that would be a problem, the PVC, because he has to replace them anyway.
Yeah, if he had to build them, then he could build them in PVC and they would be
Yeah.
a great representation of what's there.
And this guy is actually very flexible, and I don't think that would be a problem at all. So PVC on the pillars.
Yeah, I think
All
Nate
right.
Nate will understand
Yep,
what
I'll
you
let him
want
know.
if you tell him what, you know, that you want something wood grain historically accurate.
I'll tell you, I can't speak highly enough with Nate. Nate's done such great work for me. I've been working with Nate. I was his very first project, and it was actually on this home in the back. He sided the garage. Did a great job. Is someone speaking?
No, it's background noise.
So are you
Okay.
requesting $10,000?
So these two houses, I'm requesting, well, if I redid it, I was gonna request more funding, but originally, yes, I was gonna request $10,000.
Has
And
the work started or not?
No, none. I've learned my lesson.
Mark, what color are you picking for the siding? Is it a dark gray or blue?
It's dark blue. It's gonna be as close to this blue as I can get.
Okay.
All right, I make a motion that we table this until Mark comes back with a revised scope of work so that we understand what he's gonna be providing.
Okay, I can do that. Is the next meeting gonna be in October?
Yeah, first Monday in October.
October
Okay,
2nd.
what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna email the new quote. I gotta talk to Nathan and have him put in the new quote, the PVC materials on the posts and the 8 to 10 inch lap on the siding. And then I'll actually email this to Chris. And Chris, I'm gonna ask for verification. If I don't get it, I'll hunt you down and give it to you. in person.
I would throw a copy in the mail, Mark, and that for sure is a record that
You can,
it was there.
yeah, you can absolutely email, but also when you email it, text me and let me know so I can look for it.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. I'll send you a text. Excellent idea. All right, very good.
Thank
So
you.
we have
let
a
me-
motion.
Let me,
Yeah, I mean,
I just have one more question. Can I increase my requested funding on the new one? I requested $20,831. And then I was gonna pay, oh, I'm sorry, that was the old one. Retract that. So the new one, that cost is 18,787, and I was gonna request 16,000. Is that okay?
No,
Because that would definitely help me out a lot.
The maximum you can,
$15,000 is the max.
Okay, then I'm gonna do 16,000. Is that okay?
15,000,
15,000 is the
15.
max.
15.
I got you. I'm sorry. I had a brain tumor and my hearing is not good. So I'll make it 15,000. Perfect. That would be wonderful. That would help me out so much.
So we have a motion on the table. Thank you, Mark, by the way.
You're
We
welcome.
have a motion on the table to table this application until additional information is secured and a revised application or quote. I'll make a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of tabling until a revised application can be received, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Alrighty. I thank you all, and I'll talk to you next month, and I appreciate your time.
Sounds great. Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Okay, moving on, we have Janet Ferguson, 732, 734 West 8th Street. She's looking to paint, reside, repair trim. repair soffit. Total project cost is $39,210. Requesting the full 15,000, and that leaves $24,210 for her to contribute. So you can see here the bulk of the cost of the project is to remove 51 square feet of aluminum siding, and oh, it just went by very quickly. And install 51, thank you, Chris. Install 51 square feet of new vinyl siding, stock colors selected by homeowner,
Jeez.
including the Tyvek house wrap.
$28,000.
Aaron, I feel like we're super fortunate to have you participating in this meeting. So if you have any comments about applications moving forward, please do not shy away from making suggestions.
Oh, no, absolutely. You know, so I think, and that's kind of where, you know, and I'm putting down some notes, and I'm going to bring some materials to the meeting, you know, the study session you're going to have as far as vinyl siding goes. But, you know, there's certainly, like I said, vinyl is acceptable. However, you know, like I said, in Mark's case on the last one, the 042 is your standard grade vinyl siding. You can get up to 044, 046, thicker sidings, you know, typically have a higher wood grain appearance to them. They don't warp and bend to heat as visibly as the cheaper grade vinyl siding. So, you know, there's options that can be done to make it, you know, like I said, you know, majority of the Erie housing stock underneath this 8-inch aluminum siding is a 4-inch wood slab siding, you know, so putting double 4 siding back on would be historically accurate. However, you know, the quality of the materials where you want to make sure you're staying.
Excellent. So it makes me feel somewhat guilty then for approving other applications. Do we want to then for Janet Ferguson's, I guess some of this is also, we may not have been aware of what conversations would be happening after the fact, right? I think, yeah, in any case. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, you know, I was just thinking, you know, and knowing this property and where it's located at the corner of 8th and Liberty with the round section of it and that board and batten, you know, there's certainly the ability for this project to be a very visible asset to, you know, this program and everything involved, you know, if we make sure that the right materials are selected and it's not just kind of a cookie cutter rental rehab.
Well, now this building has the picture that she submitted with the application. That porch has been redone and is not historically accurate. You got that on Google Earth?
I'm going to pull it up.
Yeah. So, but that's not what's under discussion here now. It's sop and trim. But that building has been and work done that's not historically correct in the past.
Right.
You know, the other, I mean, not that I want to put more
so it is considered.
not that I would want to put more responsibility, Aaron, on your staff, but I'm also wondering about, you know, whether or not we have, whether or not it's in the best interest for us to approve applications with kind of contingencies, like, right, the contingency being that they work hand in hand with with your office and staff to select the most historically appropriate materials, right? So even when we see an application come in, we may want to fund the project, but I don't know that the commissioners are actually going to be the ones, right, to select the architectural materials that are to be used for the project. So I'm wondering if there might be kind of some middle ground here where
Yeah, you know,
project is favorable, but we really need you to talk to the RDA staff.
Right. I would be hesitant to have the HRC approve a project and then have them come with products. I think that's where we define more, you know, to the level of what you would expect for a vinyl siding, you know, and I explained to Chris in my time in Florida, I remember the HRC meetings those days in that office. I mean, there was a line of applicants to get historic approval for their projects, holding material boards and sample sidings and color swatches and everything that they would want to present to the board to get approval. And I don't think this is far off of that, and you're asking for 15,000 in grant funds to have the applicant present in front of the board like, hey, this is the vinyl siding I'm going to use. This is the material. I mean, they're requesting, the grant funds, a little bit of effort on their part to get that, to make sure that it's what the board, is agreeable to, isn't outside the realm to ask. Chris vets these applications. There's vinyl siding. Meeting's going to be October. Such and such, bring samples of your materials with you, or have your contractor present to answer questions. That's certainly not outside what could be asked by the committee.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so it sounds as if then we may be at another point where perhaps additional information is sought or needed for this application, and please correct me if I've misheard that. Where are we at with or Janet Ferguson's application?
I had a question when she was here last time, what she's doing with the turret, because obviously horizontal siding isn't going to work there, and I don't know I ever got an answer for that. Are we saying, according to what Aaron says, and I agree with him, right, bring sample board and say this is what we're doing, are the people who have put in applications, are we going to go back to them now and say, hey, you need to be more specific and bring us samples so we know what we're talking about?
I would say yes. I think you want quality over quantity at this point.
Because certainly if the material switches, the price is going to change too. So that's something that they have to figure out, and the contractor may go for the lowest price material, but that's not what we want. So we're saying they need to bring us samples of what they're going to be using.
I think that would be your doing the due diligence for the project.
Well, and that really has been a challenge from the get-go, right? I mean, looking at these proposals and cost estimates and some descriptions in the descriptions, we're not getting a visual of what's actually going to be used and or what the end project will look like from a narrative description. So all of that makes sense, and I think that's something I again don't want to speak for the rest of the commissioners, but I was hesitant myself to really put those types of restrictions on folks and or demand at that level. But Aaron, I hear you, and actually I agree wholeheartedly with you that this funding, it's okay for applicants to really work a little bit for this funding and be very specific with the projects that they're putting forth. And so we are able to ask for those levels of detail. So it's like
I think a lot of people are unfamiliar with, they just go with what the contractor says, not knowing exactly what they're
getting. Exactly.
They should know what they're getting, because they don't know what it's going to look like. And it really throw it back on the contractor and say, get these people the sample board, and then they just give it to us.
So let me ask again, where are we at with Janet Ferguson, her project?
We need to clarify what type of siding she's going to be using. The house, as you can see, the porch has already been heavily modified, but that's not what's under discussion right now. It's the vinyl.
So Jeff, I'm hearing from you a motion to table.
You are correct.
Okay. Do we have a second? Mark, we haven't heard from you in a while. There we go. Okay, get in there. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the motion to table the application signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, application tabled. Next, we go to Daniel Riley, 2620 Charlotte Street. Total project cost is $16,468, requesting $15,000 and contributing $1,648. This is a window replacement project. And I'm going to say I have a lot of questions about this, as with all of the window replacement projects on our list, right? So I'm gonna come out with a motion to table almost immediately.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of tabling the motion to table the application signify by aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, Mark, what was your vote?
I tabled it.
Okay. Next, we're moving on to Margot Wolf and Brad. It's 1039 West 24th Street. Total project cost $14,335. Requesting $12,900, contributing $1,435. Repair of windows. Well, so first of all, I read repair and or restoration, and I think that this is potentially a misuse of restoration. It does indeed, after having spent time with the application, look like a window replacement project, although they are indeed looking at replacement windows that do have the prairie style sashes. But I definitely don't.
You may want to clarify, Melinda. Some of the more descriptive scope of work says that the frames and sashes would be repaired, but it looks like they're replacing the lights in the window, is what they're replacing.
Ah, okay.
That's it's on the screen now. I've got a project description. Removal of windows, repair frames and sashes, install energy efficient, low argon, Max Franklin, Teleglass Plus.
They have a quote.
Well, this to me seems like a good project.
Yeah, this is a more appropriate. Yeah, here it is.
But then are they saying?
Oh, no, see, here it is. Now on the actual quote, it says install 23 vinyl windows.
Right. So I think table, right?
Yeah, it needs clarification.
Okay, motion to table for clarification. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of tabling or the motion to table this application signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Moving on to David Gonzalez, 2207 Poplar Street. Total project cost is $5,360. Request is $4,824 and contributing $536. This is for a driveway repair and stair replacement. The driveway is ineligible, right, per our guidelines.
Correct.
However, if they wanted to revise the application for the front stairs, we could entertain that application, correct?
And what should they be matching? What should those stairs look like? I don't. What's there? That's not original, but. So what should we tell them to get a price on for the stair replacement?
But I think it would be solely the stair replacement.
But I mean, we don't want to just duplicate what, you have the screen, you have them on the screen there? I'm sure that's.
Yeah, it's on the screen.
Okay, that's not what we want them to duplicate, right? That's not original. So what do we tell them the stairs need to look like?
So without seeing the rest of the house and or historic photograph, do we necessarily know what was there before? It could have been concrete.
And there's, put a Google Earth on there. There's many houses up there similar to that maybe there's something similar. We don't know what the original house looked like, but let's see what the neighboring houses look like, or the adjacent houses.
And regardless, this would be a table.
Yes.
So, I'd like, now, like, I have lights on.
It's not really much.
The next door is concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah, my guess is it would look somewhat similar to this right here.
What's the
That's
look-
probably what it looked like.
Can you scroll down or move down? Is that concrete
Yeah.
steps inside that,
Right here.
those wing walls?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it
concrete.
is. So
It's
that's.
concrete.
A wooden porch or wooden flooring, concrete steps.
So what
And this is
should,
very similar here.
so what are we gonna tell them? They need to put in concrete steps in our railing?
Well.
Personally, I'm not opposed to the wooden steps if that's what they prefer, but
Not either.
Appearance wise, Aaron, going back to historically accurate, what do you do when there's no record of what they look like before?
I mean, what did it?
Yeah, I think that comes down to what you guys would accept, you know, and you know what their plan would be. Yeah, that's a tough one. That's certainly one, you know, like you said, we've seen many different things, concrete steps, wood steps. I think that's it's how it's done. It would be, I mean, if they're putting concrete in, that's certainly way better than them saying they're going to rebuild the porch with new pressure treated material and put a wood railing on. I mean, they're more than likely. I didn't see what they were doing for railings, but you know, if they're putting vinyl railings on, you know, as long as that, you know, so I think that would be okay. We're putting concrete steps on, and then okay, what's the railings going to look like that are going to be down the side of it, you know, to complete the aesthetics of the property.
so their application actually calls for an exact replica. So the wooden stairs to be built to replace the existing wooden stairs with the staining, I think, to be done at a later time, if I'm recalling correctly.
Yes, but
Okay, so they're going to put pressure treated railings and that on.
So, I mean, just as a former SHPO reviewer in another state, this is the stairway that's there. Even if you looked at the next door house, which is probably pretty close to identical, that's concrete right here. It's not a character defining feature of the house. I mean, a lot of the character defining features are gone. So if I was reviewing this as a state reviewer, I would not have a problem with replacing the wooden steps with wooden steps.
and what type of railing?
Same,
With
similar to
no-
what's there.
I mean, today without vertical mullions and their vertical balusters, right?
Right.
That's not acceptable.
No. This is pretty simple. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I mean, this porch was enclosed at some point. It probably looked very similar to this one over here. And then it was enclosed. So
Yeah,
So,
I agree with Chris. I think this is one where there's not much you can really go off of.
so just review, they have a price to replace it in kind, and that's acceptable.
I would.
We're still going to need to table though, because their application, their proposed project is combined, right? It is both unless it's broken out, it is the replacement of the driveway concrete, the driveway concrete pad, plus the repair, or I should say, construction of a replica set of stairs. Yeah, so the cost is not broken out. So I think we still have to table this for the applicant to make whatever necessary revisions need to be made to the application. Because again, we don't fund driveways.
Right. All right, but our direction back to them is get a price to replace the stairs as existing, and that would be historically accurate as far as we can go. As far as we know.
Again, I don't have an issue with it. It sounded like Chris and Aaron didn't have an issue with it, but again,
I just want to be.
this is something for the commissioners to vote or to provide comment on, I guess.
I think if they would just subtract out the concrete driveway and replace those wooden steps with brand new wooden steps that look great and were solid and safe, I would be okay with it.
And the railing to match the existing railing.
Yes, which is, I think, what
be
they
more
had
beautiful.
originally proposed.
Yes. But not like a
So-
wrought iron railing like we're seeing elsewhere in the neighborhood.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and put forth a motion to table this application for that detailed work to be done. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mark. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of approving the motion signify by aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, and Chris, you're good with what we need from all of these folks that are,
Yep, I'm taking notes.
thank you. Oh, okay, so moving on then, we've got Palaco's Chocolates, 2530 Parade Street, total project cost. I am just going to be relaying the numbers that are in the quote, right? They actually have estimated costs of other work, but it's estimated. It's not actually from a quote from a qualified contractor. So if we look at just the estimates received from contractors, it's not, the total project cost is $19,189. They're requesting $15,000 and would contribute $4,189. This is for painting, storefront window replacement. Yeah, so those are the costs that they've received from estimates or from contractors.
Yeah, I would to approve that.
Okay, motion to approve on the table. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the motion, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Application approved. Moving on, we have Aaron Kerner, 1037 West 24th Street. This is a window replacement project. Aaron was on the line at one point. She may have had to hop off. I can't remember.
Still here. I'm here.
Oh, still here. All right.
Come on.
So we have the total project cost at $18,234, request at $15,000, and then contributing $3,234. So Aaron, was there anything else that you wanted to share with us?
No, not really. I've heard the whole meeting and I completely understand like the rationale about, you know, making sure we're using materials that are historically accurate. For my specific project, my windows are wood. And I do know that from research, my estimate, if I went with wood for all 24 windows, it would probably be double the cost, which for me personally, this is my first home and I'm redoing a lot of it. That's a little bit financially prohibitive for me at this point. But again, I totally get where you guys are coming from and need to do what's best for the program. So if there's any questions I can answer from my previous application, I'm happy to do so. And if there's any suggestions, I'm happy to go do more research and get different quotes if that would help the process. But again, completely understand kind of situation you guys are in. So just still happy to be considered.
We appreciate your understanding of both the program and just patience.
Completely.
So I want to just
Love this guy.
step in here for just a second. Erin did complete another project, a roof project that was well done. And while there, she showed me the windows in person, and the windows themselves they're in bad shape. I mean, having done window repair before on original windows, I'm not sure that these would be all that salvageable. There's a lot of work to be done, but we don't even have really contractors in the local area that repair historic windows. So it's kind of an issue there, which is kind of also the issue with window replacement. But I just wanted to throw that in there. Most of the windows, or the ones that I saw specifically, just aren't salvageable. They're not repairable. That being said, I just wanted to kind of put that in there.
So what we're saying in this meeting, the special meeting, we need to come up with a better definition of what acceptable windows are. And Aaron said, no vinyl, they have to be not faux divided lights, they actually have to be actual divided lights with mullions that go all the way through the windows. Is that what we're gonna come back? And tell these
Yeah,
people?
I mean, Aaron has more experience. Aaron Snippert has more experience with Pennsylvania SHPO than I do. I've worked in other states with SHPOs where the mullions can just appear to separate. They don't have to be actually separated. But each state is a little different in how they review and what they accept.
Aaron, do you have a written specification of what those windows are that are acceptable?
Yeah, I was gonna say I can pull a couple of the files and find what the state had sent us on those, and to Chris, what you said, like the windows that this PA SHPO requests, we're still allowed solid large panels, but they require that fake bar in the middle,
right?
The fake mullion between the glass, so that it looks as if they're separate individual panes, as if they're. But I'll pull that on a couple of those ones from Lawrence Park, what the state sent, and get that over to you guys.
And if I'm not mistaken, some of the window projects we've already approved have those faux dividing mullion, those faux mullions.
Yes.
We've been pretty specific about requesting that with all of our window repair project or replacement projects. And that's why this one too it kind of falls into that category, because these are unique windows, right? These are not
they're really cool windows. They are
really cool.
They're awesome. They really are. And just to clarify, in the quote, it does include maintaining those lines in the windows throughout the house. It's like extra. It's like $45 per line per window. But it is baked into there. I assure you.
Right. Yeah. And I think like this. It's a matter of, I think we look at those guidelines and try to have that what you as the committee want. But the other thing, as I would say, is that typically this on a brick house, if you do go toward vinyl windows, that you don't allow aluminum wrapping on the outside to clad the wood trim, that maybe it's some kind of other material or whatever. That's up to you, and I can get those guidelines, and you guys can make the decisions based upon the information provided.
You're talking
and
about
Chris can certainly bring in his SHPO experience, and we can weigh all the options.
You're talking about the wood brick mold. What do you replace it?
Typically, they slide it in and wrap it in aluminum.
Oh, I thought you said wrapping the brick mold in aluminum is not acceptable.
No, that the typical installation would be put the new vinyl window in the sash channels and then wrap the exterior wood with aluminum and caulk it in.
Everything on the outside.
Everything on the outside.
No.
And I believe her windows were also colored as well.
Yeah, I had quoted them capping them in black instead of white. So the windows themselves are still white, like original, but just that capping around would be black instead of white. But if the committee prefers, if I get approved, and they prefer white, I'm happy to switch back to white. That's no issue for me, because the cost is the same. I just thought the black would be like a nice, like modern touch to go with the new black roof.
Front of the house.
So yeah, we really do need that written description of what windows are supposed to be.
And this is why we want to design guidelines.
That's not her.
That's
right?
not.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah, right. This one right here.
Yeah.
We've had several.
Like Trot, that's my house right next door to the
Hey,
left.
Mike.
I'm next. I don't know if I'm next or not, but yeah, same issue with the windows and the vinyl. You can see on mine, we did have these replaced with the vinyl windows, both those third floor that Aaron wants, the 2 front bedroom ones. Those are all the same windows that I'm requesting for the most of the second floor windows and the mudroom and the breakfast nook. But they're basically the same, a lot of the same requests here between Aaron and my projects. On ours, we don't have the trim inside the sash, and so we didn't request that at all. Ours are going to just be plain. I think Aaron, you were saying it was $45 a stick.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was that much.
Yeah.
But
well, okay. Aaron Snippert, the windows.
I think he may have hopped off.
Oh, well, I guess the answer we
Yeah,
need
he
is,
has
are
every
we trying to
party meeting.
match the windows as they exist or as it was originally on the building? And
These are original windows.
those,
Those are original
what
windows.
about my truck?
I've not been inside or looked at his windows, but I have been inside her house and looked at her windows.
So with
They're-
with our
ours are
street view,
original.
is
They have
is
the
Mike's house is to the left or the
Right,
right?
yeah, that's mine, right there,
Okay.
the red brick. And Aaron's
So-
is the yellow.
So I might
but-
suggest we table both of these applications.
And there's
Um,
Brad's right next door, the one Brad and Margot's on the right of Aaron's.
All right,
So I might suggest that we table both of these until we have our conversation about windows. That will clarify for us what additional information we may need, and or how we want to treat when window replacement requests. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to table applications N
There's-
and O.
Yeah,
Mike,
I've got
We
these,
have a
I
second?
put these awning windows in on the
Oh,
third
Mike,
floor. Do you
Mike,
see?
you're not on mute. Oh, wait. There.
Oh, he's trying to show us his windows.
Yeah, these are the awning windows and they're the vinyl. You know, what it was before was just a plain, piece
Double
of
hung.
glass. It was even wavy and it was very, we finished off the third floor up here. And these windows here on the side where you're coming up, those are identical to 250 series of the Pella. Those would be the identical ones that we're requesting throughout our project here. But yeah, I mean, from an energy perspective, it's really savings has been, just. And aesthetically, from the street, from down below, from the outside, it looks like really identical.
You didn't bring anything down.
Okay, Mike, we really do appreciate the additional explanation and the show and tell. I'm going to go ahead and so right now we still have a motion on the table to table applications N and O. Do we have a second? And if not, we'll need a revised motion.
no, I'll make a second.
We have a second from Jeff.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to table applications N and O, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Awesome. So we have made it through our list and we've got lots of work ahead of us to figure out how best to review these applications again in fulfilling the mission that we helped to create for this Historic Review Commission. So looking at the agenda, we are at that moment then where thank you, Aaron and Mike, for being on. We appreciate you both being here, appreciate you both taking care of your lovely homes. Homeowners are like the frontline preservationists in the city of Erie, so keep doing what you're doing.
And thank you guys. Appreciate all the time and hard work. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so at this point, do we want to entertain a motion to adjourn with the reminder, Chris, I'm happy to look at a draft agenda since today during our meeting, we definitely have talked about lots of different things that can be on the agenda for our special meeting. I'm happy to look at a draft of that, or I mean, I'm guessing you don't want me to create one. I'm guessing you're wanting to take.
Yeah, I can do one. And I'll be out of town the next couple of days in Harrisburg, so I won't be able to get to it until later this week, but I'll have it on my list of things to do Thursday or Friday, and I can send you at least some proposals to add to that agenda. But I think most of it's going to be discussing current guidelines and then steps to take to create a permanent program, but also have guidelines for that. And part of that will be eliminated when we have design guidelines in place to use.
Right. Oh my goodness. Can't
If
wait
we had
till
that right
that's
now, we
done.
wouldn't be having a lot of these discussions.
Right. Cart before horse.
Right.
But you know what? We're helping lots of people across
We
the
are.
city, so
We are.
it's still good work. So
Yes. Agreed.
I would
Any-
move to
any-
adjourn till the next meeting.
Mark, you're a rock star. Motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second. All in favor of adjourning signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion adjourned at exactly 3 p.m. Thanks everyone for your hard work.
Thanks.